evening to our session on the District Rotary Foundation presentation. My name is Patricia DeMack. I am part of the District 7080 Training Committee, and I'm chair of this event. So I'm really happy to welcome you and hand things over to the presenter for this event, our District Rotary Foundation Chair, Norm Binden. Okay, Norm, all over to you.
Thank you, Patricia, and welcome, as Patricia said, to the 2020 Club Leadership Training Foundation segment, done different than you're used to, but we think it'll be done effectively. I have two co-hosts for this session, past Assistant Governor Venora Spreen, Rotary Club of Brampton. She's also chair of the District Grants Committee, and Assistant Governor Suzanne Zabinden from Rotary Club of Orangeville. Suzanne is responsible for the annual and endowment funds within Foundation. The session is being recorded for those who could not attend this session. Just a couple of tips before we move into the main session. It's been pointed out that there can be some problems with you seeing share screen. Right now you should see a slide that says some points about the presentation and a little cartoon about jobless Canadians. And the problem is, for some platforms, if you're in gallery view, which is the one that shows you all the talking heads, you may not see the share screen. If that's the case, then switch to speaker view and see how that works. Participants have been muted. Questions can go in the chat room. Chat room might be at the bottom or the top, depending on what your platform is. Click on the chat room and you can put a question in there, and we will answer the questions with time permitting at the end of the presentation. We're going to be creating some how-to videos after this session, and they will be attached to the district website, and they will also be part of the foundation qualification training for next year. Some of them will be such things as maybe a 10-minute webinar on how to use the district website for entering district grant applications. And the other one for sure will take you into the global grant application and show you all that's available there. After the meeting, any questions by the phone or by email, and we'll let you know this later as well, to myself, to Venora, to Suzanne, or in fact to any member of the foundation committee. And as I mentioned, time permitting, we'll allow for some questions. So getting to know our audience. Venora is going to run 3 quick polls here to just decide who we've got on the screen. We have quite a large number of participants, and we'd like to just see who we're talking to. So go ahead with the first poll, Venora.
Okay.
Nope, that's a later one. So.
Oh dear. Here we go.
First one is, are you a club foundation chair? That's it. So we'll just give a minute or two for the people to punch in there to give us an idea, and we'll show you the results. We have 31 participants registered, 24 have answered, and anybody that's listed as a co-host does not have the ability to vote, so I think you can end the polling.
Okay.
And let's share the results with us. So only a couple of people are club foundation chairs, and I'm hoping the rest of them will, in fact, view the video later. The second one?
Okay.
That's the third one.
And I'll read to you. The second one is, have you as principal contact submitted a district grant application?
Okay.
We'll go with global. She brought up the global. Let's go
Oh,
with, because that's
sorry.
questions. Go ahead and answer that. Have you, and if you've been a committee member on a global grant or application, go ahead and say yes. So what it's telling me so far is there's going to be some value in what we explained tonight, because not a lot of people have actually done these. The third one refers to district grants, and that includes whether you put in a grant under our current COVID, because it's showing that 21 people have not done a global grant as a committee member and 3 have. So go ahead with the third one. So this is a district grant.
Mhm.
Getting a few more yeses on this one, and that may have something to do with all the activity, recent activity on COVID. But still, a majority, a fairly strong majority, have not done any of these, so could very much benefit from what we're going to talk about tonight. So go ahead and show that one if you want, Venora. So about 75% are no and 25% are yes. End of polls. Thank you.
Okay.
So I'll move ahead with these slides and get on to the next one. An overview of what we're going to cover tonight. What is the Rotary Foundation? What really is the role of the Club Foundation Chair? Online training, we're going to take a look at that later. Some people are having difficulty with the online training site. Types of giving. Annual fund or endowment fund. You may hear it referred to as the permanent fund. That was the name. It is in fact now the endowment fund. And how we can improve our numbers. There's been a lot of draw on district designated funds and on income of Rotary because of COVID in particular. And also we're looking at the potential for the Government of Canada funding to end. They've extended the deadline, but frankly, I don't think that the deadline matters. I think it's a moot point because I think they're going to run out of money long before that unless they give us some more. So a Zoom meeting, and that's what the people look like when they're not showing their picture, and they clean up pretty good when they're showing their picture. So the Foundation Committee, me, already introduced. District Grants Chair, past Assistant Governor Venora Screen, Rotary Club of Brampton. I'm also Rotary Club of Brampton. Annual Permanent Fund, Assistant Governor Suzanne Zubinden. Suzanne is from Orangeville. Paul Harris Society, right from the get-go, past District Governor Sid Harmon, and he has currently listed with Rotary 123 members of the society. That brings in a big chunk of our funding. Peace Chair is Ernie Ginsler, and Ernie would be Rotary Club of Kitchener. Polio Plus is vacant. We're looking for somebody. We will advertise for it. Of course, the chair for some time was Hazard Wilson, and then we had a replacement, and now the replacement has had to step down for a period of time. So we'll be advertising, but if there's anybody on this call that has an interest in the Polio Plus chair, please give me a call and we'll have a discussion. And the International Service Director, Aldo Velenovich, and from Rotary Club of Burlington Lakeshore, and the Community Service Director, Norma Gamble, from Rotary Club of Passport South in Mississauga, are both ex officio members of our committee to provide liaison, and I am ex officio a member of both their committees. Bernard, do you want to introduce your district grants committee? These are the people that review the grants when they're submitted and ask you the additional questions.
Thanks, Norm. We have a lot of experience and definitely commit a group of Rotarians as part of this committee. We have past District Governor Doug Vincent from the Woodstock Oxford Club. Aldo Velenovich, who is also the International Service Director for our district, and he is from the Burlington Lakeshore Club. Lee Thorogood from the Burlington North Club, and Ingrid Sproxton, who is also a past assistant governor, and she is from the Orangeville Club.
Thank you. So what is the Rotary Foundation? Well, let's just read the mission. You've all read the mission. Let's just remind ourselves of it, because it has an effect, particularly on how we do district grants. The mission of the Rotary Foundation is to enable Rotary members to advance world understanding, goodwill, and peace through the improvement of health, the support of education, and the alleviation of poverty. But what does that really mean to us? Well, to start with, it's our charity. And sometimes that's forgotten. Some clubs have their own foundations and charities, and members contribute to them. And that's a good thing. But our charity is what supports the project and the good we do in the world. And it's important to consider our charity in your giving plans. The foundation is our partner in funding and district and global projects. We couldn't do any of these district and global projects. I mean, there'd be huge amounts of money going out if we didn't have the district designated funds and the World Fund and the Government of Canada to assist us. District grants, since this program came into effect, the new way of doing things, since 2013, we've done 97 district grants. At the beginning, the majority of the district grants were international. Now it runs a little bit in favor of local grants. And in fact, with COVID, it's very strongly in favor of local grants. And global grants, we've been involved in 90 global grants since 2013. And I don't want to give you a lot of statistics, but I do want to show you this bottom line. 48 of those projects, we have been the international partner. 42 of those projects, we contributed to somebody else's grant, possibly a club in the United States or England, generally a first world country that was doing a project in a developing country. Those projects, not counting these 42, just the ones where we were the international host, have had a value of over $4 million. Clubs have put in very nearly $800,000. And without the Government of Canada funding, that would have been a lot larger. You can see in these years, the Government of Canada funding didn't exist in 13 and 14. 15 and 16, we didn't do a particularly good job of it, but it was mostly because of the bureaucratic requirements and the filings of the government until they started to understand that we only had one part-time employee, and we weren't equipped to fill in all the forms that they required. So you can see we took a big leap. Now those numbers that I've listed do not include 3 projects from the 2019-20 year and 3 from the 2018-19 year, because their funding is not yet complete. So district grant, the features of a district grant. They're small scale, they're short term. They can be local or international. They're aligned with the mission, not with the 6 areas of focus, which may become 7. They can call it, is it environment, that's what it is being considered as the 7th area. But under district grants, you can do an environment project. It aligns with the mission, but not with the 6 areas of focus. They're much more flexible with what we do with district grants, and they're awarded annually. I'll give you an example of a international district grant, and I want you to take over here, Suzanne.
Thank you very much, Norm. The Rotary Club of Orangeville is currently doing a project in Ile-Vache in Haiti. And basically it came about because declining fish populations in the waters surrounding that very small island has negatively impacted the capacity of the fishermen to provide food. And that has led to a protein deficiency in the people there. So the mayor offered the community the space to build chicken coops. So with the district grants that we received, we can enable the people there to build 2 new chicken coops, to purchase then 200 laying hens. And these hens, they will lay the eggs, and the portions of the revenue from these eggs will then be sold to be reinvested for feed, wages of the caretakers, new chicks, and also to build ponds that for further investments in the protein production. What's nice about this one, that this initiative is self-sustaining in the long run.
Thanks, Suzanne. So here's an example of a local district grant, and this was a couple of years back. The Rotary Club of Streetsville worked with the Children's Aid Society, and they purchased and distributed backpacks and school supplies for children of financially disadvantaged families. And that's a picture of a very happy, very satisfied group of Rotarians that were doing good in the world. So look at the district grant website. And why bother? Because district grants are closed this year. But the district grant website and the global grant website continue to cause confusion. And there's quite often even confusion as to which one to use. So Venora is going to do a quick run through. I'm going to do the global grants later. She's going to do district grants. As I said, the year is closed. But we use the district grant for other purposes. I think, can you see the, or maybe it's you've got it on the wrong screen, or have you? Can you see the district grant website?
I've just started sharing it, Norm. I hope everyone can see it.
Okay, and so what we do with the district grant website, we use it this year and for grants this year and next. We use it for the district grants for COVID-19. We use it for district-funded COVID-19 grants. It's already in place, and it's the best way for us to administer it. And we're going to be using it if we're successful in getting a disaster response grant. So go ahead, Venora, and I'll just check with to see. Suzanne, can you see Venora's district grant page?
No, not yet. I see her homepage.
Okay. Okay, so I have to log in.
Yes.
Okay, so for those of you who aren't really familiar with the district website, to get to the area where you can upload your grant, you have to go into the members only site. And that's using your login name and your password, which I have just done. Hopefully, Suzanne, you can see this.
Yes.
Okay. And now I've just gone in, I've clicked the member area, and that's where we are. So if you look at this, header here, you go to grants, district grants. And I have a lot more in my drop down menu than you will see, but you will have on yours, you should have an area with documents. And this is a really important area for anybody involved with district grants because, and I'll just pull it up and show you, we have a lot of information uploaded on here. Norm's been very gracious to do this for all of us, and including rules and procedures down towards the bottom, and our last year's PowerPoint from Norm's presentation at FQT last year, as well as something that's also very important for the district council, and that is our district grant reports from our last year and the year before. And as soon as this year is done, it will also be uploaded. But having said that, please take some time and take a look through this site. You'll find all kinds of information there. And if you can't find it, please just give either Norm or myself or someone on the committee a call, and we'll help you as best we can. So let's go to submit a grant request. And once you click this button, and I'm just going to type in here test for training. The next important thing for you to do is to select the proper year. So it's not the current Rotary year. This will be for the following year, because as you know, you do your MOU or you do your training in 1 year, but it's actually for starting July of the following year, the following Rotary year. So, and then you put in your club. Norm Binden's name comes up, and I'll just type something and hit sub. Oh, we need a budget. And submit. But you're not done. That's basically just the basics. For you to actually finish your application, you have to go back to View Club Grants, Test for Training. That's the one we just put in. We'll open it up, and you can see more things here to do. The application, this is where everything starts. And from here, you'll go through, and every header here along this part will have an area where you can fill in. The budget is important. Don't forget, a lot of clubs forget to put the requested grant amount in there. And let's just add a budget item here so we can see what happens here. Description, I don't know, Norm's wine cellar, and an amount. And as soon as you do that, it will populate. Okay, and that's the same for every part of this menu. So project overview, you want to put as much information in here as possible. The one thing I wanted to go back to the application section, because where global grants sustainability is a key factor, in district grants it's not. It's obviously, we would love to see if it is sustainable. It helps us in our decision making, or how we can help you get your grant approved at Rotary International. So if there is a sustainability factor, please give us the information. Otherwise, it's not yay or nay for a district grant, because we get a lot of questions about that as well. And I think, Norm, in the interest of time, unless somebody has a major question, I think I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Oh. Excuse me. Unfortunately, we can't edit that out of the presentation, but we're back on my screen.
Yeah.
Okay, the features of a global grant. They're large and long-term. They're sustainable, and they have measurable outcome. Measurable means you can figure out what the result was. If you've got a situation where children are scoring too low on literacy tests, and you put a literacy program in and they start to score higher, that's measurable. If you've got people living in absolute poverty, and now they're running small businesses or involved in various enterprises, and they've improved their conditions, that's measurable. And that's what they mean by measurable. They must be aligned with the 6 areas of focus. And as I mentioned, environment may become the 7th area. You do need an international partner. Usually that's us. And we have a host somewhere else. But there could be exceptions. For example, we could be the host partner for an indigenous project involving water in northern Canada, northern Ontario perhaps. And we could have a host partner in the United States. And the only requirement is that 30% of the funding comes from outside of Canada. And there must be a community assessment. We're no longer the people that go in and tell people what they need and give them what we think they need. The community assessment must be done. It must prove that this is what the people want, and this is appropriate for where the grant is going to go. This is a global grant example. The It's the Rotary Club of Oakville, Trafalgar, and a Rotary Club in Guatemala City. It's a program to help women and their children living near the dump in Guatemala City. The women were scrounging for recyclable items to sell and occasionally worked in the sex trade. They were put in a program to learn marketable skills such as sewing and jewelry making, and they were doing fine until COVID. Their annual income, or their even daily income, you can call it, was increased about fourfold. Then the government shut the program down for COVID. So my pictures here are the same people, but are part of the urgent food distribution from another grant, actually a district grant, and some help from the Oakville Trafalgar and the Oakville Club to prevent starvation. I'll just give you an idea how a global grant is funded. So we start out with 2 clubs put money in. Generally, the host club, if it's in a developing nation, puts in a small amount of money, but there's a need, so they are not putting in a great amount of it. District designated funds, 7080, we match that. Exactly what that was. And then along comes the Government of Canada. They match this, this, and this. And then we go to the World Fund. And the World Fund, and we'll show the match later, but cash, which is this, the 2 Rotary clubs, and the Government of Canada is matched 50 cents on the dollar. And the district designated fund is matched dollar for dollar. And the project total for this one was $50,323, which is a pretty good return on investment when the clubs only put in $9,000 roughly. So we're going to take a quick look at the Global Grant website. Unless you're using it every day, none of the Rotary websites are particularly user-friendly. If you're in there all the time, you get pretty comfortable with it. And we're going to produce a short webinar for later on their use. So today I'm just going to do a very brief overview. And I should have it ready. And we'll go to my Rotary. Rotary site's always pretty slow. I'm hoping it left me signed in, because that'll certainly speed it. It did. It left me signed in. Go to Rotary Foundation. Don't click it. If you click it for some strange reason, you go to a page you don't want. But that's okay. Just click on My Rotary and you'll get back where you wanted to be. So if you're using any of these, hover. Don't click. So I hover over that. I go carefully over to Grant Center. I click Grant Center. Now, if you do this, the only ones you're going to see are the ones that your club has submitted. So also apply for a grant in there. And we'll cover that in the other webinar, and there's a lot of information on how to do it. So I'll show that to you. So I'm going to bring up one that happens to be my own club. And it is in Rotary Club of Naisna, South Africa, and we've done projects with them before, particularly the Mississauga Meadowvale Club has. And all the information is there. You can apply for a grant. You fill in this various things. There's project overview, there's focus, there's measuring success, location and dates, the participant, budget and funding. And I'll just mention one thing in funding. If you're putting money into a grant, be very careful. That's not your own. Be very careful to specify that it in fact is either US or Canadian dollars, and be aware that there is 5% automatically added to other than the district designated fund, and that is for the administration that the Rotary Foundation does. But the other thing I wanted to point out to you, with all the questions that get asked, look at all the stuff down here. areas of focus, community assessment, cooperating organization, global grant application. This is a very good one, the global grant calculator. It will be explained in detail in the webinar, but that's the way to keep track. And then you don't have to worry about this is 50 cents on the dollar, that's dollar for dollar, this is the amount of World Fund available. It's going to do all of it. And there's a template and a grant life cycle. So if you're going to do an application, get familiar with it, take the online training. We quite often get numerous questions. And when we go in to look at the basic information and the committee members and check our records, we find it's not the case here. These some of these people have oh, they disappeared. I'll have to find out why. We had them in there, but sometimes we find out that the people that are listed on the grant, that not a single one of them has taken the training, and certainly Vijay Katamari has taken the training. So that's a very quick overview. Feel free to call us if you have any questions, or just give us a little time. We certainly expect to have the webinar available early in July. So back to the presentation. What really is the role of a club foundation chair? It can be pulling your hair out if that's what you prefer, but it's not necessary. It's pretty straightforward. Attend your district training assembly. That's what you're doing. This is the district training assembly, the club leadership training. Attend foundation qualification training to ensure your club qualifies. There are some new rules. Effective July 1st, the primary contact or the contact person on a district grant and at least one of the 3 committee members on a global grant must have taken the foundation qualification training. And I just explained why. Many times those questions we get from people that haven't taken it are easily answered in the training. If you need subcommittees within your club, depending on the size of your club and what you're doing with foundation, go ahead and create them, and feel free to contact our district chairs for all of these particular disciplines if you need assistance. Promote foundation grants and activities, and certainly promote a contribution to foundation, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Provide updates to your club. When I go around with district grants to distribute the checks, and when other members of the committee do, after a project is completed, I was surprised in how many cases the club members didn't even know that the club was doing that project. 1 or 2 people knew. If it's a community project, usually people know because they're out there helping and they're involved in it. But many of the international projects, people said to me, why are you here again? Oh, I didn't know we were doing that. So make sure that your club is updated on a regular basis. I stroke this out. Inspirational foundation focused club programs at least 4 times a year. Start with it doesn't happen. Probably a little impractical, particularly now that some clubs meet twice a month. I think it's more important to have a few, to have updates, and district foundation committee members are always available to come to meetings, to speak to your club, and to give them an update on foundation and how it works. So a quick look at the Learning Center. There's a lot of stuff in there. And I will tell you that right now, I get a report every Monday morning on all of the Learning Center activity. And it's available to the training chair and to the international service chair, etc. And there are a lot of courses in there. It doesn't matter what you are. If you're the club secretary, the club treasurer, the club president, you're the foundation chair, anything that you might be involved in, there's a module in there. And we have currently 1,100, last report, it was 1,161 modules that people from our district had registered for and were taking. Now, if you take the qualification training, there's 9 modules, so that adds up pretty quickly, but still well over 1,000, and it's really only been running well for, I don't know, 6 months, 7 months, something like that. And there is lots of stuff on foundation, and there is stuff on, there are various ways that it's presented, but there's the Club Rotary Foundation Committee, every committee, managing the foundation, and the courses consist of PDF downloads, webinars, and other written material. But the old cliche that a picture is worth 1,000 words, so I'm just going to take you out of the Rotary Foundation. I'm going to take you into district. Nope, I'm going to take you back into my Rotary. I had to come out of foundation to get to my Rotary. It doesn't allow you to reverse things. And we'll see if I'm still signed in. Yes, I am. So we go to Member Center. By the way, there is a cheat sheet on the district website that takes you through step by step what I'm going to do right now. You go to the Member Center, the Learning Center. It takes a minute or two. That little ball always hypnotizes me. And there's all sorts of courses on there, and you can save a lot of time by applying a filter. In particular, if you take the English filter, unless you want to take it in another language, if you take the English filter, you can eliminate a lot of the courses. You can search through and you can find out what you're looking for. It's not always easy, but if you go up here in the search bar and you put search, and it didn't do it. And it doesn't like the way I spelled management. I'll try again. Because I did it earlier today, and I'll put an S on there. It's very sensitive. I'll see if I put an S on it. Aha! And yet it calls it without the S. So you can select it, and it lists all the 9 modules that you have to go through. This is mine. You can see I took 2 hours and 33 minutes. They say it'll take 2:45. I suggest it's probably going to take you a little longer to go through it. I obviously work with the stuff pretty regularly, so I already, in fact, I had a lot of the documents already downloaded and so forth. So it might take you 3 hours. But this up here in the corner is your buddy. I had to have a teenager tell me that that's an index. To me, it just looked like 3 lines. There it all is. There's my dashboard. That tells you everything I've done, everything I registered for. I'm up to date on my evaluations. Here's the grant management seminar. It says I've done the 9 courses and I'm finished. So just remember that. First time, a little tricky. Second time, use this little fella. And you can always go into my activities if you want as well. And it's going to tell you everything that Norm Binden has done in the last 12 months. See, I'm getting a little slack there. That's it. Again, if you are putting a grant in, or pardon me, trying to get in the Learning Center and you're having difficulty, give me a call. I'll bring that up on the screen. We'll do a Zoom and we'll walk through it together. So we've already covered these 3 items. Now we're going to go into types of giving, annual fund or endowment. As I mentioned, it's previously known as a permanent fund, but now it's the endowment fund. and improving the numbers. So supporting the Rotary Foundation. Do you want to take this over, Suzanne?
Sure. Well, in order to support the Rotary Foundation, you have essentially three options. There is the Polio Plus Fund, where contributions are used strictly for the polio vaccinations and research. Then there's the annual fund, which is basically our support for today. And Norm will explain that in the next slide, how this works. Then there's the endowment fund to secure the future of Rotary and the foundation, basically in perpetuity.
Keep going, Suzanne. You can handle this one.
Yes.
It's your slide.
So the share system, that's for the annual fund. So anything that is donated to the annual fund for the share, 50% goes to the district designated funds, and 50% goes to the World Fund, as the slide shows.
Okay, go ahead.
And then Norm is taking over.
Yep. Okay, so it's a 3-year cycle. So money that was donated to the annual fund in the 2015-2016 Rotary year, we used last year. Money in the 2016-17, we're using this year, and 2017-18, we're going to use next year. And the funds are available to the district in the 3rd year through the share plan and the share system. A quick explanation. I used $100,000 because it's easy to see the money. We usually put into the annual fund in our district somewhere between $220,000 and $250,000. So you can just multiply by the appropriate number. 50,000 of that 3 years later comes back as district designated funds. And those district designated funds, we can use up to half of them for district grants. So normally this number would be 60 some, I think it's 55, 56,000 for this year. And the other half of it, 3 years later, goes into the World Fund. And that's the money that's used when you put in a global grant and you're finished with all the funding and everything. And it says you can request so many dollars from the World Fund, and you always take it all and reduce the cost to the club or to DDF rather than leave money sitting on the table. And they do, for DDF, they do a 1-for-1 match. They do a 50 cents on the dollar, as I said, for club or Government of Canada money. And it can also be used to support Polio Plus or Rotary Peace Centers. So back to you, Suzanne.
All right. Well, back to the annual fund. So basically, it is the primary funding source for all the grants and activities. The annual fund supports local and international grants through the SHARE program, like we just heard. And then any contributions done by a club or by a Rotarian are credited to the donors club, and that will then be applied to a club's annual funding goal, fundraising goal. The contributions by individuals accrue Paul Harris recognition points, and I will get into that a little bit later as well. And as Norm mentioned, the monies are available to us in the district for projects after 3 years.
Okay, rolling into an explanation of the endowment.
Yes. Is that still me, Norm?
That's still you.
Perfect. So the endowment fund, or used to be called permanent fund, all the monies that are contributed are professionally invested, and only the earnings are spent. So with the money from the endowment fund, over 200 Peace Fellows scholarships have been funded, and $195 million is the value of all named donations made to the endowment fund. Basically, In your will, you can leave your money or a portion thereof to Rotary, and there are naming possibilities, and your legacy will continue in perpetuity.
Okay, back to an overview. We've covered all this. So now we're going to talk a little bit about getting our numbers up. They've been slipping a bit. They're not dangerously low, but as I mentioned earlier, we're reaching the point where we have no idea whether the Government of Canada funding is going to continue, is going to be extended. And we're pessimistic because there is huge amounts of money going out for COVID. And I don't think we're the top of their list right now. So, so improving the money, I'm going to give you a little bit of district statistics. And I talked earlier about the importance of this being our charity. In 11 clubs, 100% of the members donated last year. 6 were sustaining member clubs, which means every member gave at least $100. 4 clubs greater than 90% donated. And that's very good, and congratulations. But sadly, at 10 clubs, less than 10% of the members considered that the Rotary Foundation was their charity. Not necessarily their own charity, but wasn't even on their list. At another 10 clubs, not a single Rotarian in the club contributed to the Rotary Foundation, which is an indication that we need to get out and get the message out a little better, because that's really not a very positive result. So we're going to go back to you, Suzanne, and we're going to talk about improving the numbers.
Well, as I heard from Norm, it is important that we improve our numbers, and it is quite easy. For the every Rotarian every year, you'll see the acronym there. So every Rotarian every year, that would be 50 cents US per week, would make end at $25. And that is when the club donates a per capita of $100 each. That would make then a member participation for every Rotarian every year.
Just if I can interrupt there for a second. One thing that frequently puts a club over the $100 per capita is the Paul Harris Society. People putting, and she's going to mention that, but people putting in 1,000. So in my club, for example, we're over the $100 per capita just because of the Paul Harris Society members. And so the rest of the people would only have to put in 50 cents US per week, and we would be in every Rotarian every year club. Go ahead, Suzanne.
All right, thank you. Then to be a sustaining member, and therefore a sustaining member club, that is $100 US per capita per Rotary year. That will be at $2 US per week. I would think that's a large coffee or so that you would have to give up to become a sustaining member and contribute to the annual fund. And then, as Norm mentioned, the Paul Harris Society, that is when someone donates $1,000 US per year, which boils down to $20 US per week. And I'm sure most of you have seen some of these recognition pins. There's the Paul Harris Fellow, when someone has donated $1,000 US, and that does not have to be per year. That is the Paul Harris Society. Then you get that little banner there on the side to go with it. There are various levels of donations, and if everybody in a club is Paul Harris Fellow, there's a special recognition as well. And then there are several other levels of donations, donors, major donors, and if you so choose during your lifetime to give a minimum of $250,000 US. You become an Arch Clump Society member with a recognition in Evanston. If you are donating your money in a will after you pass, and it is over $250,000, then you will become an Arch Clump Society member posthumously.
Okay, we're getting near the end, but we're gonna do one last quick poll. Two questions. So get ready, Venara, here we come. There's question one. How many have experienced a foundation presentation at their club in the last 6 months? So far, it's running neck and neck. Okay, I think we can stop that poll, Venara, and show the results, and you can see that it's that's good. That it's pretty close, and of 24 people responding, 11 have had a presentation at their club. So you close that poll. And the last one. How many think their club would like a member of the foundation committee to make a 20-minute presentation, a normal speaker presentation at their club? We can do it by Zoom, or we can do it in person at a later time. So we're not getting a huge response on that particular poll. We've only had so far 4 people respond, so I guess you're thinking about it. So we'll make sure that you know that we're available, and that's pretty much any member of the foundation committee. And we will certainly, any that you can have polio. Oh, a few more are coming in now. You can have polio, you can have annual and endowment fund, you can have me there talking on whatever, and you can have Venara talking on district grants, etc. So we're now up to a little better percentage there, and we're showing about 3/4 of the people responding, exactly 3/4 would like a presentation. So feel free to get in touch with us. Okay, you can close that one if you like, Venara. And I think we have a few minutes left. Am I correct, Venara?
Yes, we do.
Do you have any questions in your chat box?
The first question was from Louise Gardner, and I just would like her to clarify. She's asking who has access. I'm a PE and don't have a president-elect, and I don't have permission. And I'm curious what she's referring to.
Okay, can you unmute her and can you tell us, Louise?
Hi, it's Louise. While the presentation was on, I went into the website. I have access to be able to go into, this is the district site, into the application form. But when you were showing where all those files were, all the information, all the documents, that was under the an area that was shaded. I did not have access to that.
Okay, I'm just gonna look very quickly. Remind me your club. I know.
Kitchener.
I'm sorry?
Kitchener.
Kitchener, let me look.
Is it because is there a certain level that you need to be able to access it?
You can access, you should be able to access any grant that's from your club. Your club is fully qualified, and you are the qualified member, and your MOU is being posted. So there's no reason why you shouldn't have access. So if you want to give me a call at sometime later.
Nope. You know what? I went back in. I'm sorry. It didn't give me access before, and now it just did. So I apologize for taking up the time. I'm good. Thank you.
That could be the website does have some glitches. Always sign out and try again.
Great. Thanks.
You have another question, Benara?
Yeah, actually, Perry was asking, are the ISD and CSD roles at a club level or at a district level? I believe she's referring to Aldo.
International Service Director?
Yes.
Okay. International Service Director is, and Community Service Director are district level positions. However, most clubs have an International Service Chair. Well, I won't say no for most clubs. It's actually slightly less than a majority that have at least have listed it on the website. And certainly most of the ones that do international grants have. And many clubs have a community service director. But clubs are not particularly good at telling us that. So what happens when we have information to send out, we can't send it to them. We send it out, we go into the organization chart, and I click send to all the people that are listed in those positions. We can take one more question, I think, and then the rest should come in to us by email.
Okay, yeah. Louise also has another question about sustaining club. Anyway, I'll just read her question. If you are a sustaining club, do you automatically have the recognition for every Rotarian every year?
A sustaining club would, because a sustaining club, no. A sustaining member club, yes. The difference between the two is a sustaining member club. Every member of the club has donated a minimum of $100 US. A sustaining club is a club that's donated a minimum of $100 US per capita. So the sustaining member club would be every Rotarian every year. Okay, I think we're getting pretty close to our hour there. So I'm just going to point out that there are some resources that you can go into. www.rotary.org. We were in myrotary.org today for the Learning Center and some Rotary Foundation information. There's an endpolio.org. And of course, for the district grants, we were in the Rotary 7080.org. And some of your best resources are me, Benara,
Sorry?
and Suzanne, and any other member of the foundation committee. So thank you for being here. Thank you for doing good in the world. Keep yourself safe through these unusual times, and feel free to contact us for any help you need. We really are here to help you spend money. Good night.